adapting and thriving in a world of constant change. Have you ever felt blindsided by change? Whether in your career, your relationships, or your personal life? Did you find yourself clinging to the past, wishing things would go back to the way they were? In today's rapidly evolving world, the ability to adapt to change is not just a desirable skill. It's essential for survival and happiness. Welcome, listeners, to a timeless and insightful journey through Who Moved My Cheese, an amazing way to deal with change in your work and in your life, by the renowned author and speaker, Dr. Spencer Johnson. Published in 1998, this deceptively simple little book has resonated with millions around the globe, offering a profound yet easily digestible parable about how we react to change and how we can learn to navigate it successfully. Who Moved My Cheese tells the story of four characters living in a maze and their quest for cheese, which is a metaphor for what we want in life, whether it's a job, a relationship, money, health, or spiritual peace of mind. The maze represents the environment in which we seek these things: our workplace, our community, our relationships, or even our own minds. Through the experiences of these four unique characters as they face unexpected change in their cheese supply, Dr. Johnson reveals universal truths about our attitudes towards change and provides a practical framework for embracing it with less stress and more success. This book is a powerful reminder that change is inevitable, but our reaction to it is a choice that ultimately determines our happiness and fulfillment. It's a vital guide for anyone feeling overwhelmed by uncertainty and seeking a simple yet effective way to thrive in a world of constant flux. A gathering, Los Angeles. The book begins not in the maze, but at a reunion luncheon in Los Angeles. A group of old classmates are catching up, sharing stories about their lives and careers. As the conversation flows, someone brings up the difficulty everyone seems to be facing with the constant and often unexpected changes happening in the world. One of the classmates, Michael, shares how overwhelmed he felt by a recent, significant change in his company. This prompts another classmate, Angela, to recall a simple little story she had heard years ago that had helped her through a similar, challenging time. She offers to share this story with the group, believing it might offer some perspective and guidance. Angela then introduces the core of the book, the story of Who Moved My Cheese. The story of Who Moved My Cheese. Angela explains that the story takes place in a maze where four little characters spend their days looking for cheese to nourish them and make them happy. The four characters are Sniff, a mouse who sniffs out change early. He has a keen sense of smell and is always alert to the possibility of the cheese supply shifting. Scurry, another mouse who scurries into action quickly when the cheese moves. He is energetic and doesn't overthink things. He just gets going. Him, a little person, a small human-like being who resists and fears change. He believes he is entitled to his cheese and gets very upset when it is moved. Haw, another little person who eventually learns to adapt and see the benefits of change. He is more thoughtful than him, but initially also struggles with the cheese being moved. Angela sets the scene. Sniff and Scurry, with their simple rodent brains, rely on instinct. Every day, they would run through the maze, sniffing and scurrying, looking for new sources of cheese. They weren't attached to any one location. Their primary focus was on finding cheese and enjoying it. Hem and Haw, with their more complex human brains, had developed a different approach. They had eventually found a large supply of their favorite type of cheese at Cheese Station C. They became so comfortable with this reliable source that they built their lives around it. They moved their homes nearby to be closer to the cheese. They took it for granted that the cheese would always be there. Analysis. The gathering in Los Angeles. This framing device is crucial. It grounds the parable in a real-world context of people struggling with change. By having Angela share the story, Dr. Johnson suggests that the lessons within are universally applicable and have helped others. The four characters. The simplicity of the characters, two mice and two little people, makes the allegory accessible to everyone. The mice represent a more instinctive, less emotional approach to change, while the little people embody the more complex and often resistant human reactions. Cheese Station C. This symbolizes a situation we become comfortable and attached to. A job we've had for years, a stable relationship, a familiar routine. The comfort can lead to complacency and a failure to notice subtle shifts in our environment, taking cheese for granted. Hem and haw's behavior highlights a common human tendency to become entitled to our successes and comfortable situations. We can forget that everything in life is temporary and subject to change. Practical application. Reflect on changes in your life. Think about recent changes you've experienced. How did you initially react? Did you embrace them or resist them? Identify your cheese stations. What are the areas in your life where you feel the most comfortable and secure? Are you paying close enough attention to potential shifts in those areas? Consider your sniff and scurry. Are you proactively looking for changes and ready to take action when they occur? Or are you more like hem and haw, becoming complacent in your comfort zone? The story of Who Moved My Cheese continued. Every morning, the mice, Sniff and Scurry, and the little people, hem and haw, followed their established routines. Sniff and Scurry would wake up early and immediately head into the maze, running their usual route to Cheese Station C. They didn't overanalyze, they just acted. They would check the station, and if cheese was there, they'd eat. Hem and Haw, on the other hand, had a more elaborate routine. They'd wake up later, get dressed, and then leisurely stroll to Cheese Station C. They were so confident that the cheese would always be there that they didn't feel the need to rush. They even started putting on their running clothes and shoes at the station itself, feeling secure and comfortable. They boasted about their wonderful cheese, decorated the walls with proverbs, and felt utterly satisfied with their secure, predictable lives. One morning, everything changed. Sniff and Scurry arrived at Cheese Station C as usual, and immediately noticed something different. The cheese was gone. There was no cheese left. Their internal alarms went off, and without hesitation, they quickly looked around, processed the new reality, and scurried off into the maze, instinctively ready to search for new cheese. Hem and Haw also arrived, but their reaction was dramatically different. They were shocked. They stared in disbelief at the empty cheese station. "What? No cheese?" Hem yelled. "Who moved my cheese?" Haw lamented. They complained loudly, blamed the situation, and felt deeply betrayed. They simply could not accept that their comfortable routine and abundant cheese supply had vanished. Analysis. Established routines. This section highlights the power of routine. Sniff and Scurry had a simple, effective routine of constant vigilance and quick action. Hem and Haw had a routine built on complacency and taking things for granted. The unthinkable happens. The disappearance of the cheese at Station C symbolizes any unexpected change in life: a job layoff, a relationship ending, a health diagnosis, a market shift in business. It's the moment our comfortable status quo is disrupted. Contrasting reactions. Sniff and Scurry's adaptability. The mice represent an immediate, instinctive response to change. They don't overthink, they just observe, accept, and act. Their brains are wired for survival and efficiency, not emotional attachment to a specific cheese. This is a key lesson. The faster you accept that change has occurred, the faster you can adapt. Hem and Haw's resistance. The little people's reaction showcases common human responses to unexpected loss, shock, denial, anger, and blame. They feel a sense of entitlement to the cheese, believing it should have remained there. This emotional resistance keeps them stuck, unable to move forward. Their complex human brains, capable of deep thought and emotional attachment, become a hindrance rather than a help when faced with unforeseen circumstances. Practical application. Recognize the change event. When faced with an unexpected change, how quickly do you acknowledge and accept the new reality? Do you fall into denial or anger like Hem and Haw? Observe your initial reaction. Pay attention to your first emotional response to change. Is it to blame, complain, or to quickly assess and adapt? Challenge entitlement. Are you unconsciously believing that certain aspects of your life, your job, your relationships, your comfort, should always remain the same? This belief can make adaptation much harder. Embrace discomfort as a signal. The discomfort of the cheese being gone is a signal to act, not to complain. Are you using discomfort as a motivator or as an excuse for inaction? After the initial shock, Sniff and Scurry, the two mice, wasted no time. They understood that the situation had changed, and complaining wouldn't bring the cheese back. With their simple yet effective minds, they instinctively knew that the only way to find new cheese was to go back into the maze. They sniffed around for any faint scent of new cheese, and then scurried off, exploring different corridors, ready for whatever lay ahead. Their strategy was straightforward: observe, adapt, and move. Meanwhile, Hem and Haw, the two little people, remained at Cheese Station C, paralyzed by disbelief and frustration. They kept coming back, day after day, hoping the cheese would magically reappear. Hem, in particular, became increasingly angry. "It's not fair," he'd shout. "Someone should have warned us. This isn't right." He blamed them, the unknown forces who had moved his cheese. He felt entitled to his cheese, especially after all the hard work he had put in to find it. Haw, initially just as upset as Hem, began to feel the pangs of hunger more acutely. He tried to reason with Hem. "Maybe we should go back into the maze and look for new cheese," he suggested hesitantly, but Hem scoffed. "Why should we? The cheese should be here. And what if there's no new cheese? What if it's dangerous out there?" Haw, disheartened by Hem's resistance, would often give up and sit back down, feeling miserable but not moving. They started to grow weaker. Their frustration turned into a deeper sense of despair. They were still emotionally attached to the old cheese, and their minds were focused on the injustice of its disappearance, rather than the opportunity to find more. Analysis. The mice's action-oriented approach. Sniff and Scurry represent the action-oriented response to change. They don't intellectualize or emotionalize the loss. Their simplicity is their strength. They accept reality and immediately shift their energy to finding a solution. This highlights the value of agility and an experimental mindset in the face of uncertainty. Hem's resistance and entitlement. Hem embodies the most stubborn human reaction to change. His reliance on blame and his belief that he's entitled to what he had are powerful psychological barriers. He views change as a personal affront rather than a natural part of life. His fear of the unknown and attachment to the past keep him stuck in emotional suffering and physical decline. Haw's internal conflict. Haw is perhaps the most relatable character. He knows he needs to change, and he occasionally tries to inspire action, but his own fear and Hem's negativity often pull him back. He represents the common human struggle between the desire to adapt and the comfort of inertia, even painful inertia. His initial hesitation and internal struggle are key to understanding the journey of eventual transformation. The cost of inaction. The declining health and increasing despair of Hem and Haw illustrate the very real costs of resisting change. Emotional attachment to the past, fueled by anger and blame, drains energy and prevents individuals from seeing new possibilities. Practical application. Don't confuse activity with productivity. Are you busy, complaining, or reminiscing about the past? Instead of actively looking for solutions in the present, challenge your entitlement. When something changes unexpectedly, do you immediately feel it's unfair or that you're owed the old situation? This mindset can be a significant blocker to progress. Listen to your inner Haw. Do you have a nagging feeling that you should be doing something different, but resistance or fear is holding you back? Acknowledge that feeling. Recognize the traps of blame and fear. Blaming others or dwelling on fear won't change your situation. It only wastes valuable energy that could be used for exploration and adaptation. Embrace the go find new cheese mindset. When your cheese moves, the most effective response is to immediately go back into the maze and start looking. Days turned into weeks, and Hem and Haw grew hungrier and weaker, their frustration festering into despair. They still returned to Cheese Station C each morning, but with less hope, only to find it consistently empty. Their conversations became endless loops of complaint and resentment. Haw, however, began to feel a different kind of pain, the increasing discomfort of staying in the same hopeless situation. He missed the cheese. He missed the joy it brought. He started to realize that complaining and clinging to the past wasn't helping. He knew he was changing simply by growing hungrier, and that perhaps change could be a good thing. One morning, Haw decided he couldn't wait any longer. He started to laugh at himself, acknowledging his own foolishness and staying put. He imagined Sniff and Scurry already out there, finding new cheese, and he felt a pang of envy mixed with a spark of hope. He thought about what he would write on the wall of the maze if he ever found new cheese. He made a small, difficult decision. He laced up his running shoes, which he had long ago taken off and hung around his neck, a symbol of his complacency. He decided he would go back into the maze, alone if necessary, and search for new cheese. Hem, of course, was horrified. "Are you crazy?" he yelled. "What if it's dangerous? What if there's no cheese out there? You're better off waiting here with me." But Haw, though scared, was determined. He began to draw a picture of a block of new cheese on the wall of Cheese Station C, trying to visualize what he wanted. He even tried to get Hem to come with him, but Hem stubbornly refused. With a deep breath, Haw stepped out of Cheese Station C and ventured back into the dark, intimidating maze. Analysis, the catalyst for change, increasing discomfort. Haw's transformation begins when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change. This is a critical psychological tipping point. The comfort of the familiar, even if miserable, often outweighs the imagined discomfort of the unknown until the misery becomes unbearable. Self-awareness and humor. Haw's ability to laugh at himself signals a shift in perspective. It's a moment of self-awareness and a release of ego, allowing him to break free from the paralyzing self-pity and blame. Humor can be a powerful tool for overcoming fear and accepting reality. The power of imagination and visualization. Before moving, Haw draws a picture of new cheese and imagines Sniff and Scurry finding it. This act of visualization helps create a positive mental image of the desired outcome, reducing fear and building motivation. It gives him a why to move, even when the path is uncertain. Overcoming inertia. Lacing up his old running shoes is a symbolic act of overcoming inertia. It represents making a concrete, physical commitment to action, even when fear is present. It's a small but significant step towards proactive behavior. The resistance of others. Hem's continued resistance highlights a common challenge. When you decide to change, those around you who are still stuck in the old ways may try to pull you back. Their fear and negativity can be contagious. Haw's courage to move forward, despite Hem's resistance, is a testament to his growing inner strength. Practical application. Identify your tipping point. Are you feeling enough discomfort in your current situation to finally take action? What is that point for you? Use humor as a coping mechanism. Can you find a way to laugh at your own struggles or the absurdity of your situation? This can help release tension and shift your perspective. Visualize your new cheese. Before taking a big step, spend time vividly imagining what success looks like. What are the benefits? How will you feel? This positive visualization can fuel your motivation. Take the first small step. Don't wait for all fear to disappear. Make a small, concrete commitment to action, like Haw lacing up his shoes. This initial step often builds momentum. Beware of negative influence. Recognize when others' fear or resistance is holding you back. Surround yourself with supportive people, or have the courage to move forward alone if necessary. Haw, despite his initial fear, pushed forward into the dark, unfamiliar corridors of the maze. He felt a mix of trepidation and a tiny spark of hope. He initially felt lost and even a bit foolish for leaving the perceived safety of Cheese Station C. He wandered through empty hallways, occasionally finding tiny crumbs of old cheese, which offered momentary relief, but no lasting satisfaction. These small bits of cheese only reminded him of what he used to have, a dangerous temptation to return to the familiar. He quickly learned a crucial lesson. Small bits of old cheese are often bait that keeps you from finding new cheese. As he moved deeper, Haw began to think about his companions back at Cheese Station C. He wondered if Hem would ever decide to move. He even considered going back to tell Hem what he had learned, but then he quickly dismissed the idea. He knew that Hem had to discover it for himself. Haw kept moving, even when he felt tired or discouraged. He realized that the faster he let go of the old cheese, the sooner he would find new cheese. He started to write short, profound messages on the walls of the maze, hoping that if Hem ever followed him, these insights would guide him. His first message was, "If you do not change, you can become extinct." He also tried to put himself in the mice's shoes. Sniff and Scurry had gone back into the maze without overthinking. They just moved, Haw realized that his human brain, with its capacity for worry and overanalysis, had held him back. He began to run faster, pushing past his fear, letting his instinct guide him more. Analysis. The initial discomfort of change. Haw's experience immediately after leaving Cheese Station C reflects the common feeling of disorientation, doubt, and even regret when stepping outside one's comfort zone. The empty hallways and tiny crumbs of old cheese symbolize temporary setbacks or tempting distractions that can pull us back to old, unproductive patterns. The danger of old cheese crumbs. This is a critical lesson. Small, familiar comforts can masquerade as solutions, but they often prevent us from seeking genuinely new and better opportunities. Settling for crumbs means never finding a full block of new cheese. Personal responsibility for change. Haw's decision not to go back for him, understanding that him had to discover the truth for himself, highlights the principle that you cannot force others to change. While you can inspire or provide guidance, ultimate responsibility lies with the individual. Writing on the wall, internalizing lessons. Haw. Writing messages on the wall serves a dual purpose. For him, it's a way to internalize and reinforce his own learning. By articulating his insights, he makes them more concrete and memorable. For others, it's a potential guide, but only if they choose to follow. Overcoming overanalysis with action. Haw observes the mice's simple, effective approach and realizes his own human tendency to overthink had been a hindrance. This leads him to mimic their action-oriented mindset, pushing past intellectual paralysis. Practical application. Beware of crumbs. After a change, don't settle for small, temporary comforts that remind you of the old situation, but don't move you forward. These can trap you. Focus on your own journey. While you can be supportive, recognize that others must make their own decisions to change. You can't change them. You can only change yourself. Document your learning. As you go through changes, write down your insights. This helps you clarify your thinking, reinforces new habits, and provides a personal roadmap. Embrace imperfect action. Sometimes, the best way to overcome fear or overthinking is simply to move, to take imperfect action. Just like Sniff and Scurry. Let go of the past. Quickly. The faster you truly let go of what was lost, the sooner you can open yourself up to finding new opportunities. As Haw ventured further into the maze, he found himself thinking about his old assumptions. He had always believed that Cheese Station C was the only place to find cheese, and that the world outside was full of dangers. But now, as he explored, he realized the maze wasn't as terrifying as he had imagined. In fact, he started to discover new, previously unnoticed parts of it. He then wrote another message on the wall. When you move beyond your fear, you feel free. Haw realized that his fear had been bigger in his mind than in reality. The moment he actually started to move, the fear began to dissipate. He understood that staying in the familiar, even if it was uncomfortable, was far more paralyzing than facing the unknown. He continued to run, even when he found no cheese for a long time. He remembered the simple, swift actions of Sniff and Scurry. He started to follow his instincts more, turning down paths he hadn't considered before. This led him to a new section of the maze, unlike any he had seen. It was filled with tantalizing new smells, and he felt a growing sense of excitement. He found another wall and wrote, "Imagine yourself enjoying new cheese, and it leads you to it." Haw began to visualize, in vivid detail, finding a massive, delicious supply of new cheese. He imagined the taste, the satisfaction, and the joy. This positive mental image fueled his energy and courage, helping him push past doubts and continue his search with renewed optimism. He understood that positive visualization was a powerful tool to overcome fear and keep moving forward. Analysis, challenging assumptions. Hawes' journey highlights the importance of questioning our ingrained beliefs and assumptions about ourselves and the world. His old belief that the maze was only dangerous kept him stuck. New experience proved this erroneous. Freedom beyond fear. The message, when you move beyond your fear, you feel free, is central. It emphasizes that fear is often a mental construct that loses its power once we take action. The act of moving itself is liberating, demonstrating that inaction is the true prison. Trusting intuition and exploration. Haw learns to trust his instincts and explore new, unconventional paths. This represents the importance of innovation and thinking outside the box when old methods no longer work. Sticking to familiar but unproductive routes guarantees continued failure. The power of positive visualization. Hawes' imaginative visualization of new cheese underscores the power of optimism and a positive mental attitude. By focusing on the desired future, he generates the motivation and resilience needed to overcome present difficulties. This contrasts with Hem's negative visualization of perpetual lack. Practical application. Identify your limiting beliefs. What assumptions are you holding about change or uncertainty that might be holding you back? Challenge them with small, courageous actions. Take the first step to dissipate fear. Don't wait for fear to disappear before acting. Act with the fear, and you'll find it lessens over time. Embrace exploration. Be willing to try new approaches, even if they're unfamiliar. Sometimes, the path you've never taken leads to the best opportunities. Use visualization for motivation. Clearly imagine your desired future and the benefits of achieving it. Let this positive vision pull you forward, especially when you feel discouraged. Beware of old assumptions. Just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it will work in the future. Be open to new ways of thinking and doing. Haw pressed on, driven by his renewed optimism and the vivid images of new cheese in his mind. He scurried through various passages, some dark and dead-ended, others leading to small, disappointing pockets of stale, old cheese. He learned that finding new cheese often means facing temporary setbacks and false starts. But each dead end, each stale crumb, provided valuable information about what not to do, helping him narrow his search. He wrote another message on the wall. The faster you let go of old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese. Haw reflected on how long he had stayed at Cheese Station C, clinging to the hope that his old cheese would return. He realized that his attachment had prolonged his suffering. Letting go, he understood, wasn't just about moving physically, but emotionally. It was about releasing the resentment and the expectation that things should have stayed the same. He continued to follow his instincts, turning down unfamiliar paths. As he rounded a corner, a new scent filled the air, a fresh, inviting aroma unlike anything he had smelled before. His heart pounded with excitement. He followed the scent, his pace quickening. Finally, he arrived at a massive, vibrant cheese station he had never seen before. It was Cheese Station N, and there, waiting for him, were Sniff and Scurry, already enjoying an enormous supply of various new cheeses. It was the largest and freshest supply he could ever imagine, far more abundant and diverse than Cheese Station C had ever been. Haw joined his friends, happily eating until he was full. He smiled, thinking about the journey. He had been afraid, he had doubted, but he had chosen to move. He understood that the joy of new cheese was magnified by the journey he had taken to find it. He then reflected on the lessons learned and etched his final, most profound messages onto the wall of Cheese Station N, hoping they would serve as a guide for anyone who might eventually follow. Smell the cheese often so you know when it is getting old. Movement in a new direction helps you find new cheese. Old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. When you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change course. Noticing small changes early helps you adapt to bigger changes that are to come. The greatest obstacle to change is within yourself and that old fear. Imagine yourself enjoying new cheese, even before you find it. When you change your beliefs, you change your behavior. It is safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless station. Haw often returned to Cheese Station N, always making sure to explore new parts of the maze just in case. He learned to be vigilant, to keep moving, and to embrace the process of change. He sometimes thought about him, wondering if he would ever come. He left the messages, a legacy of his transformation, hoping his friend would find them. Analysis, setbacks, and learning. Haw's experience with dead ends and stale cheese highlights that the path of change is rarely linear. Setbacks are inevitable, but they are crucial for learning and refining your strategy. Each wrong turn provides information that guides you closer to the right one. The power of letting go, emotionally. Haw's realization that letting go of the old cheese wasn't just physical, but emotional is profound. Resentment and attachment to the past are heavy anchors that prevent forward movement. Releasing them frees up mental and emotional energy. The reward of new cheese and more. Cheese Station N represents not just a new opportunity, but often a better one. By embracing change, we don't just recover what was lost. We often find something more abundant, diverse, and fulfilling. The joy is compounded by the personal growth achieved on the journey. Haw's wisdom and legacy. Haw's final messages are the distilled wisdom of the book. They represent the insights gained from his personal transformation. Writing them on the wall is a form of reinforcing his own new beliefs and providing a guide for others, including his friend Hem. This showcases Haw's transition from a fearful little person to a wise, proactive agent of change. Continuous vigilance. Haw's continued exploration of the maze, even after finding new cheese, emphasizes that change is constant. Success is not a destination, but an ongoing process of adaptation and vigilance. The habit of smelling the cheese often ensures you're never caught off guard again. Practical application. Embrace learning from setbacks. View temporary failures or disappointments as valuable data that refines your approach. Don't let them deter you. Practice emotional detachment. Consciously release emotional attachment to what was. Focus your energy on what is and what can be. Seek out new experiences. Be open to new ideas, new places, and new ways of doing things. You might discover something far better than what you lost. Be a Haw for others. Once you've navigated change successfully, share your lessons, your messages on the wall, with others, not by forcing them, but by inspiring them with your example. Cultivate ongoing vigilance. Make it a habit to regularly assess your environment, your routines, and your cheese supply. Are there subtle shifts you should be noticing? Are you becoming complacent? This proactive approach prevents future shocks. At us discussion. Later that day, the story of Who Moved My Cheese concludes, and Angela finishes sharing it with her old classmates at the reunion. The group sits in thoughtful silence, digesting the simple yet powerful parable. They then begin to discuss how the story relates to their own lives and challenges, realizing the profound implications of its lessons. They talk about recognizing their own hems and haws. They acknowledge their own tendencies to resist change, to complain, or to be paralyzed by fear. The importance of sniffing and scurrying. The value of staying alert, anticipating change, and moving quickly. The fear of the unknown. How often their biggest fears were self-imposed, making the maze seem more daunting than it was. The freedom of letting go. The liberation that comes from releasing attachment to the old cheese and embracing new possibilities. The power of a positive attitude. How a mental shift from victimhood to proactivity can transform the entire experience of change. The choice to act. Ultimately, the story is a reminder that while change is inevitable, our response is always a choice. The discussion among the classmates reinforces that the story is not just a children's tale, but a profound metaphor for life itself. It offers a universal language for discussing change, making difficult conversations easier, and providing a shared framework for moving forward. Conclusion. The enduring wisdom of Who Moved My Cheese. As we conclude our exploration of Dr. Spencer Johnson's Who Moved My Cheese, the powerful simplicity of its message resonates deeply. Change is an inevitable, constant force in life, and our ability to adapt to it determines our happiness and success. This little parable, disguised as a children's story, offers profound insights into human nature and provides a timeless roadmap for navigating uncertainty. We've learned through the journeys of Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw that anticipate change. Always be aware of your environment. Smell the cheese often to detect subtle shifts before they become major disruptions. Adapt quickly. Don't waste time in denial, anger, or blame. The faster you accept the new reality, the sooner you can find new opportunities. Let go of the old. Clinging to what was lost, the old cheese, only prolongs suffering and prevents you from moving forward. Release emotional attachments to the past. Overcome fear with action. The fear of the unknown is often far worse in your mind than in reality. Take the first step, and the fear will begin to dissipate. Visualize success. Imagine yourself enjoying new cheese to fuel your motivation and guide your actions. Learn from every experience. Even dead ends and setbacks provide valuable information that refines your path. Embrace the journey. Change is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. Stay vigilant, keep exploring, and be willing to innovate. Help others, but know their limits. You can inspire and share your wisdom, your messages on the wall. But ultimately, each individual must choose to move for themselves. In the fast-paced, unpredictable 21st century, the principles of Who Moved My Cheese are more relevant than ever. They empower us to stop being victims of circumstance and become active agents of our own destiny. By consciously choosing our attitude towards change, we can transform anxiety into adventure and uncertainty into opportunity. This book is a powerful reminder that while the maze may change and the cheese may move, our spirit of exploration, adaptability, and resilience is an endless resource within us. If this engaging journey through Who Moved My Cheese has inspired you to view change differently, I wholeheartedly encourage you to read Dr. Spencer Johnson's complete original parable. Its simple yet profound insights offer even deeper personal reflection and practical guidance. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What's one old cheese you've been clinging to? And what's one step you're committed to taking today to venture into the maze and find new cheese in your own life? Share your reflections and intentions in the comments below. Your journey of adaptation and growth inspires this entire community. If you found this comprehensive audiobook summary valuable, please give this video a thumbs up to support the channel. Subscribe for more transformative book insights, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into life-changing wisdom. Thank you for listening, and remember, don't just watch what happens. Embrace the change and move with your cheese.